Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tuesday Night Live podcast from the range with your host, John G. Johnson. How's it going, guys? John, the Firearms Instructor, and welcome to Tuesday Night Live. Every Tuesday night we do this. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Rumble. If you want to comment, let us know where you're from. We would appreciate. First time on the show, always give us a hello or a comment and let us know where you're from. We'll give you a big shout out. We appreciate y'all. Phil, as always, thank you, my friend, for being here. We appreciate you very much, Phil. As always, my friends. Welcome this evening. Well, we've had a heck of a week last week, huh? The world is changing so much, man. It has woke up a lot of people. A lot of people are we're getting busier here at the store due to the fact that what they've seen on the market, seen in the world, seen other places. So my tagline is always, you are your first line defense. And I never want any of you guys to forget that. Due to the fact that the cops are minutes and minutes and minutes away, and that firearm is there for you for seconds when you need it the most. So got to get comfortable. Well, Florida's made news again. Florida has made news with the opportunity. There was a ruling coming up in regards to our concealed carry, or the force of concealed carry, and it was brought to the Attorney General. The Attorney General had deemed it unconstitutional. So in a very September the 10th, Florida District Appeal Court struck it down. The state's decade-old ban from open carrying is considered unconstitutional. So Florida is going to switch to open carry. So this live we're going to do this evening, we're going to go through a lot of different stuff you may not know about, that you maybe should know about, the pros and cons of open carry. And we are going to stay calm, and we're going to talk about this as adults. But a lot of times people are very opinionated about us having to have a license to have a weapon on us to begin with. And it does hurt some people's feelings. So let's try to stay calm and focus on safety as much as possible. So just to remind you, the ruling on September 10th, Florida's first district court appealed and struck down the state's decade-old open carry or unconstitutional. One second, folks. Hey, gun range.
Right in front door. I don't know if the bell doesn't work.
Yeah, 1 second here, buddy. 1 second.
All right, thanks.
1 second, folks.
Do these podcasts tonight? Tuesday, right? I thought it was
No, it's Tuesday night.
Yeah, right.
Going back.
All right.
All right.
Just be a while.
Yep. All right, so I'm back, folks. Hope you hear me. I apologize about that. Got one of our customers wants to shoot, so we may hear some gunshots in the background, but we're okay with that. The Attorney General on September the 15th, Florida's Attorney General James Altmaier announced that open carry is now law of the state and advised law enforcement prosecutors not to enforce the old ban. Agencies have flagged a short administration window. They're going to put it back in the court system. and it'll be clarified on September the 25th, which is in a couple of days when the window closes. So no more bullshit about that. And many agencies already began aligning their practices with rulings, but some have asked residents to wait till the 25th for absolute clarity. So don't carry yet. Don't open carry yet. With the bottom line. Bottom line for viewers, the ban has been struck down. AG tells them not to enforce it, and by the 25th, it is clean. No ambiguity, and date may shift a little bit. What didn't change? The rulings that didn't change basically is you still have to pay attention to where you can go and where you can't go with a firearm. All the restricted areas that you have with your concealed carry, you still have those, and permitless carry still stayed in effect. You do not need your concealed carry to open carry. You don't need that, and Florida still has, you don't need a permit to carry as well. So that went into effect July 2023. We need to understand what the positives and negatives are about open carry. And we've always been able to open carry while hunting, fishing, or camping. That's been around for a long period of time. That's going to and from. Nobody really did that, but you can do it at hunting, fishing, and camping. And that is not hunting for a new purse or a new pair of shoes. That's hunting for Bambi, or hunting or fishing for the world's record fish. So keep that in mind. So I thought of what I would do tonight, as I did a YouTube video, which I thought was pretty good, and I gave you my negatives and positives of open carry. And I tried to keep as positive as possible, because there's so many advantages to having your concealed carry, but there are a few advantages for being able to open carry. And I think that we talk about those this evening. It truly would give us the best of both worlds, and you would be able to understand a little bit better, is open carry for me, or should I be concealed carrying? And that's a decision that you will have to make yourself. There are a lot of different things that makes it easy for us. But one of the challenges that most people always say, I can't wait to open carry because I don't have to have the legal headaches of making sure my weapon is concealed at all times. If your weapon showed or printed or peaked, it becomes a moot point at that point in time, because at that point in time, the firearm is allowed to be out in the open. So you're not going to get penalized or hurt by the sheriff's department, police department, or anybody else like that, due to the fact that it's legal at this point in time. Here is my problem with open carrying in that same scenario. Although it's easier for me to carry now, everyone in the world will know I'm carrying, and this is where the real challenge is. So I put together 5 positive effects for open carry, and I'm not sure if these are. You can give me an opinion if you want. What do you think? Give me some of the positives of open carry. Thank you for the thumbs up. We appreciate that very much. That means a lot to us. So the very first one I would give you is not having the ability to have to worry about weapon showing. So we can wear different clothes now. Good evening, Kurt. Thank you for being here from New Jersey. Appreciate you very much, as always, every week. Thank you for being such a loyal customer. Appreciate you. Loyal subscriber. So number one is not having to worry about the gun being concealed. Number two is speed, uh, access speed. You're able to get to the gun in a faster mode. There's no garment. There's nothing to worry about. You can just pull it out if you need it. Number three, in Florida, it's pretty hot and the heat and all that stuff. So on the waistband holster is a lot more comfortable, which than having something tucked into your waistband, which will print a little bit and be hot. That's one of the things that people always say. It's going to be a lot easier. The inside the waistband holster is a lot more contained and a lot more tighter to the body, where an outside the waistband holster is a lot more bulkier, but it's going to be easier and more comfortable in the long run. So it makes it easier. And if it's more comfortable, most likely people will carry a little bit more. And number five, and I'm not sure how to lay this out, I kind of question the open carry factor, and I try to be as open minded to it. But the visible sidearm, in the realm of things, people feel that just the sight of the firearm will deter will deter bad guys or criminals in some contexts. I'm not exactly sure if we're having a weapon on our side is for more deterrent or intimidation. And that's where I'm questioning this. Because if you really think about putting a firearm on your side to deter somebody from doing something, or I got the firearm on my side just in case the bad guy sees it and walks away the other way. Thank you for the thumbs up again. We appreciate that. I would say that that's not a good idea anyways, for the deterrent. We're using the gun as intimidation purposes. It surely makes it a little bit more of a wait and see or whatever you want to say. So I feel that the five I've given you are kind of bullshit ones, but I couldn't really come up with good ones. Thank you for the thumbs up. Appreciate that very much. That's the third one tonight. It's sort of one of those deals where I can say what I want to say, and it doesn't matter what I say. You're going to do it no matter what you do. But realistically, I think open carrying, there's a lot of disadvantages to it, especially if we're carrying a gun for defensive purposes. One of the negatives of all that is when a bad guy sees a firearm, they're not afraid of it. They're looking at it as a monetary amount of money, and no firearm in a cheap Uncle Mike holster that doesn't have any kind of retainment options for it. When the cops walk around town with their firearm, those firearms are not in some cheap holster. They're in some kind of double containment thing. So if I went behind a deputy sheriff or a police department or anything and went to go grab his gun out of his holster, I wouldn't be able to get it out of there because it has a double containment. Ideally, when you buy some cheap nylon holster and you're carrying around town with that thing, anybody can take your firearm at that point in time. And most people think you're going to see the bad guy or he's going to announce himself in that scenario where someone's going to rob you or steal your firearm. You're never going to see him until it's too late. My dad used to say, you never see the alligator or the shark that bites you. And this is the same thing with the bad guy. When we're announcing we have our firearm on us like that, then we are putting our big target on our chest compared to when we conceal carry. Nobody knows you have it. When you open carry, everyone knows you are carrying. All right, so if those are the positives, let's go through a few negatives that I've come up with that I think that people don't really think about. I think it's important that you educate yourself well enough to understand. I know there's comments being made, guys, but I'm going to do the presentation and we will go back and answer comments as we go. Ben Vol, thank you very much for being here tonight. I appreciate you very much. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. All right. So, number one, I've already told you, is the loss of tactical advantage. You're telegraphing that you are armed and you may be the first victim. You may be the first person that a bad guy would go out. If you are the bad guy and you're robbing this location, you see someone with a firearm, you think the biggest threat you're going to have is the person with the firearm, well, then bingo bango, you are the first victim. And it works out 90% of the time in that scenario. They're not stupid. They know where the threat is. They're going to try to stop the threat before anything else goes on. And when you've got a firearm in your side, most likely they're going to be able to visualize that. Visualize that pretty easy. Number two is open carry demands a solid rock retention gear and training. What's that mean? Is that means you can't go buy a $8 holster and carry around town thinking that's going to work for you. Because the idea of somebody taking your weapon from you from behind when you're not paying attention, which is most likely where it would happen, and then once he's got your firearm, what are you going to do? Run outside and chase him? There becomes a real consideration for you. It's bad enough that people leave guns in cars all over in Southwest Florida, arming the bad people because it only happened that one time, but one time is too many. When you leave a gun in a vehicle and some bad guy steals it, well, now we've given that bad guy a weapon that we weren't in control of. Well, when you have a holster that doesn't have any kind of retention, when the bad guy reaches up and grabs it from behind, well, chances are you won't be fast enough or realize what's happening. He could just, hit you in the head and take your gun from you as well, or other things. It becomes a real problem for us. So, being able to retain your weapon at all times and getting the proper gear. When they switch out weapons in the sheriff's department or police department, it's all new holsters. You just got to get the right gear if you plan to do that, and you want to protect yourself as much as possible. So those retainment holsters, although you're protecting your life with them, they're not cheap. They're more expensive than normal. You don't have to worry about concealing them as much, but you do have to be really concerned. And it's education. You got to be able to understand how the system works. Number Oh, yeah. Well, leaving guns in vehicles, Robert, is one of those things people do on a regular basis here in Lee County too, and it happens all the time. And people tend to do it, and I think it's silly that people do it, and a lot of them don't do it, and don't do it. And with that one night that they leave it in there is when it happens and it gets stolen. And the problem is, we're we're arming we're arming the bad guys, or those bad guys are selling those guns to arm other bad people. So it's such a silly thing, you know. Obviously, nobody wants you're losing that, but you know the just think of what you're doing when you leave a gun in a car and someone takes it. Imagine if they took that gun, now went to your neighbor or your friend or your your brother-in-law, sister-in-law's house because the gun you left in your vehicle, they're now using as a armed robbery. And a lot of bad guys don't train, so they're not very disciplined on trigger control. So don't leave a gun in the car. That's the one thing that if they penalized them more for it, right, then it wouldn't happen as much. Number number three negative I see is with the way the world is becoming now, you're going to expect to have more 911 calls, man with gun. There's going to be a lot more problems you're dealing with on a regular basis. That's not the attention or, or, or the necessary thing we need to have people looking at us. It becomes so much challenging for us. You know what ends up happening too, that being said, well, with this now open carry law that's going to happen, you're going to start seeing a lot more no open carry signs in businesses. Now, in the past, there's been signs on businesses, but with a concealed carry, as long as you were not going into one of the areas that you were not allowed to go to, schools, county buildings, such. You know the list. You really, when Walmart had their sign on their front door said no loaded firearms, well, I don't work for Walmart. That was an opinion of the store, and that sign was this big. Did I even see it? I didn't see it. The manager asked me to leave. I leave with a firearm. The problem with you open carrying, they're going to deny you access. Now, what you just did there is half the retail businesses, including gun stores, pawn shops, ranges, are not going to want a loaded gun coming in the front door of the building because people are jackasses and they don't know how to be safe with a firearm. So when you see someone with a firearm and it's loaded, it's going to deem people not to give access. And when you walk in the door with a loaded firearm, that sign on the door, you're breaking the law at that point in time. And if you decide, well, it's my God-given right, it's not. The businesses are going to have more power now. We're giving the businesses more power that we cannot be in there. And once we access that building and they ask us to leave and we don't leave, then we're trespassing with a firearm, which is a big penalty. Thank you for the heart. Appreciate that very much. Appreciate that. So when the businesses now are controlling our access, do you think Perkins is going to want you to be in their business? Do you think they're going to want you to be there with a gun on your side? No. Right now, the printers are so busy. My buddy works at Publix. Publix is not going to allow it. They can't. They don't allow their employees to carry. Why would they let you carry? And they carry cash in a building. So they're not going to allow it. Home Depot is not going to allow it. Lowe's is not going to. Half the businesses in Florida are going to put a sign on the outside of the door. And it's going to limit your access. So here we go now. We're taking the gun off. We're putting the gun on. We're taking the gun off. We're putting the gun on. How easy is that going to be? Now, you have your concealed in the state of Florida. You put that gun in your pocket. Put the gun in a holster, you walk in a store. You just do what you got to do. As long as that list is, you're not in one of those buildings that have the list, the list where you can't be, you're good. You're good. But the moment they put a sign in the door that says no loaded firearms or no open carry, you're done. Now, imagine all the cars in the parking lot that have guns in them now. We just talked about leaving guns in cars. If I'm a bad guy and I'm thinking about going into one of these places and I see a truck and the truck has SIG and this and that on the backside of their car, and all of a sudden these cars are getting broken in because the chances of guns being in them, because they can't be in Publix. So where are they going to be? In the car. So it just opens up a whole nother can of worms. And by the way, don't put all that shit in your car. It's like wearing a shirt that says I carry. This is a whole other reason why we don't want to do all this. I get it. I get people want to do it, but you got to think about what's the reality. Where's it going to go? What's going to happen? You're opening the reality. You're opening a big problem for yourself on a regular basis. And that private property thing, that's going to go through all businesses. And that's just going to be another thing. So, yes, the Florida, it says you can open carry, but they gave the businesses the right to say no. So now we're back to concealed carry again. So how does that benefit us? Unless you want to go down to the pier and put an AK-47 on your back and go fishing. I don't understand that. Yeah, I see it on YouTube all the time. I see those jackasses that do that. All they're doing is trying to make it a point, make an opinion. Just causes more problems we don't need. There's too many Kens and Karens in the world that want to call 911. We don't need these cops running around looking at firearms, open carry. We need them catching the bad guys that are doing other stuff in the world today. The rapists and the murderers and all the other bullshit that goes on, not chasing some phone call of somebody who feels uncomfortable with a firearm. People look at firearms a couple different ways. We're biased here, guys. You guys listen to me today, you guys on the YouTube channel, you guys that come in the gun stores, you don't have the problem. You don't look at a firearm as a deadly weapon. You look at a firearm as a tool. When somebody sees a firearm, they don't see the law-abiding citizen with their concealed carry. Firearm equals criminal to most people who don't like guns. So when someone sees a firearm, it causes them a little bit of anxiety. We should give them a pill. Thank you, Chris, for showing up tonight. Appreciate you, buddy. We should give them a pill, an anti-anxiety pill. Calm down. It's just a firearm. It's there for my protection. It's there for me and my loved ones. I carry a gun because the cop's too heavy to carry and all the stuff we have to do. These are the same people that are going to call 911 and expect them to save their life. It's not the cop's job to save your life. It's your job to save your life. But when we're telling everybody in the whole world we have a gun, how safe are we? So public alarm is one of the things we have to be very careful of. And a private property rule, you're going to expect a lot more 911 calls. There's a guy with a gun. No firearm policies at businesses and venues. There's always been that for venues. Private property owners, people who own businesses, they're always going to be worried about what's available for them, if that makes sense. Yeah. Sorry about that, folks. I'll call back. There's a lot of legal patchworks that we got to still apply. Prohibited locations. You can't carry it into the place we talk about. Another thing when we're dealing with cops, thank you, Robert. 100%, Robert. Robert just mentioned that, you're just as vulnerable. I mentioned that already. The firearm will not make you safer. The firearm the firearm itself, will you lose your tactical advantage when somebody's seeing it. I can tell you that talking to a couple of cops that I know, a couple of sheriffs I know, they're just waiting for. No one wants to take anybody's gun rights away, but they just know this is going to cause so much problems when it comes to it. It all started when they went to the permitless carry. You know what ended up happening there? In the past, when you had your car was an extension of your home, and we had castle doctrine here, so we were allowed to have a loaded gun in our vehicle without a permit, without a license, as long as it was securely encased. So then they went to, and most cops were dealing with guns in vehicles, not guns on people's side, if that makes sense. They weren't seeing a lot of people concealed carrying in Florida without having their concealed. The average person, the criminals, they do what they want to do, you understand? They're not concerned about that. But when the average person, when they did the permitless carry, which you didn't need your concealed carry license anymore, had to go get a permit or anything, and people started carrying in that factor, it opened up all of Florida for someone to have a gun on them. So now the cops had to get back on their, had to be a little more lenient, a little bit more concerned when they stop somebody. You know, if a cop's doing his job right, he's treating us all like criminals until we prove otherwise. And that's kind of what the great thing about you having your concealed is you're able to show the cop your driver's license and your concealed carry, or just tell them, hey, I have a firearm prior to. Now, when they stop somebody, it's a question they normally ask, do you have a firearm in you? Because they make it to Florida, no matter which vehicle you're in, you can carry. And it just opens up the world. Now with open carry, they've got all these people walking around with guns on them, and it just puts a whole bad taste in the cops' mouth because now they have to be concerned about a lot of different stuff. And I know they're being trained like that, but you just got to think about when it happens, you know. We need to be very careful and very because of brandishing and muzzle discipline, poor handling or careless presentation could be alleged as improper showing, basically, and that could cause us a problem with the cops and stuff like that. We want to be careful of that. And then number this one here is I gave you again is the community optics. You represent gun owners. You represent 2A members. And we need to be better than the next person, right? We're not going to be the dummies that do all this crazy stuff and carry in the wrong holsters and everything. But the community looks at us a lot differently when we have a firearm on us, when we don't have a firearm on us. What they don't know won't hurt them, but when they see it, it makes them very uncomfortable. And this becomes a big challenge for us. So, your demeanor, how you dress, your professionalism, these are best things that you need to do. Even if you open carrying, you need to have some kind of class to it, if that makes sense. Uh, it's just an image that we probably don't want. It's probably don't need. It becomes a lot more challenging. Here's some tips I would give you if you plan to open carry. And I've already said this once, but I think these little pinpoint things will help you tremendously. Number one, I need you to find yourself and I need you to look up a level 2 or better holster that's going to allow you retention. If you plan to carry, you need to keep the weapon safe. And the only way to do that is to have a level 2 or better retention holster. And then I need you to practice until it is like butter that it comes out of there. When you start getting what, because a lot of those guys, you have to press down and turn your handle at the same time to lift it out of there. Most of the sheriff's department, most of the police department throughout the United States have some kind of level 2 retainment, and you best off to have it, especially if you're open carrying, because that keeps the gun safe and out of bad guys' hands. Number two, I would recommend you start working on. You should always have this anyways, but especially when you plan to open carry, you need to have situational awareness. You need to maintain a distance. You need to guard yourself from your strong side, mind crowd and tight corners and cues. You do not want somebody slipping up on the gun side of you. Even though you may have a retainment holster, there's a fight's going to assume when they actually grab that weapon. And technically, if you're not paying attention, someone can slip up on you pretty easy, and that becomes a real challenge for you as well. The firearm is just as deadly. I mean, the knife is just as deadly, or blade product is just as deadly as the firearm. So we need to be careful with situational awareness. Remember, someone who sees a $500 Glock on your side, that is a $1,000 Glock on the streets when they sell it, because there's no paperwork, documentation, or anything involved in it. And the person who's buying it can't buy the gun from the gun store anyways. So they are actually going to pay more for it. So when you have a gun out in the open, you are putting a big target on you and your firearm. Work on your de-escalation skills. Your voice, your judgment are more important than your gear. Remember, I'm sorry, walk away. No sense of getting any confrontation. What scares me the most about open carry is these jackasses in the road rages. It's very easy to pull something like that. Remember, brandishing in the state of Florida, brandishing is when you pull a weapon in rage and anger. You've already lost. So don't do anything stupid, because it'll put you in jail quicker than anything else. Because you can't pull a gun in rage, can't pull a gun in anger. You can only pull a gun in fear. In fear of what? Death or bodily harm. You need to stay current on restricted places and any local agencies, anything else like that. The no-go zones, you need to make sure you understand which are good and what are bad. There's a lot of them you don't think about. I'll give you one that most people wouldn't think about, but it's there all the time. Let's say, for instance, the post office doesn't seem like it'd be a place like that. Obviously, it is, because it is a federal building. How about day of voting? The polling place, your church, your library, all those places are what they are. The day they have the voting machines in there and you go in the vote, you cannot carry a gun. They become no zones, and you got to make sure you understand them. We need to make sure you start making your list of stores you can't be at, because when the store puts that sign up there, no open carry, well, you need to start making your list. Either you're going to save your money and go somewhere you can open carry, which that list will be very small at a certain point. So open carry is available for anybody except where the stores say you can't come in. And if you go in and they trespass you and they ask you to leave, you got to go. Don't think it's your God-given right, because it isn't when the stores have the right. This is what open carry did for them. It gave them the right to trespass you if you have a firearm on you and you do not leave. So you got to make sure you get your brain about that. Having the ability to have your concealed carry, it's more important than anything else. You can get yourself abilities that people will never know you have it on there. It's important that you understand the rules and regulations. The loss of tactical advantage is one of the biggest deals I can give you. When someone knows, they all know. And that's the one thing we don't want. In a dangerous situation, you may be the first target for a bad guy who wants to take out an armed citizen. Number two, there is the risk of gun grab. Open carrying a firearm, other people will access it. That's going to be a problem for you. Dealing with the alarms, dealing with 911, public access, private property restrictions. Buildings say that if the business says no, you can't go. Ooh, I should put that. Business says no. Dealing with cops and your personal responsibility. I can tell you guys, the transition from open carry to concealed carry, you got to make your own decision about this. Some people are going to do it because they can. Some people are going to not do it because they know what it's going to bring to them. In the end, it comes down to what's best for you. And you need to make that decision. I can tell you, if you watch my YouTube video I just had out the other day, I just posted on the YouTube. I went through both sides of it. I really thought I'd get a lot more hammered by it, but most people start to see it after a while. I talked to one of my buddies in Texas 3 weeks ago, about something, and I asked him how many people do you see open carrying in Texas. You think Texas, it's very very few that you see. Now there are some, but very few he sees that are actually open carrying because it becomes so much more of a what makes you the target basically. So let's go ahead and look at a couple things here. We got a good group of people made some comments today. So we got one from Ben here. He thinks open carry. Let's go here. Sorry about that. Yeah, you gotta have the retainment holster. Ben comes from the background of working for an agency, and someone grabbing your firearm, retention holsters is a standard duty retention. It's going to help out tremendously. That's 100% agreeable, Ben. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's one thing most people don't do. They don't do any kind of force training. Force training is one of those deals that most people aren't wanting to sign up. Thank you for the thumbs up. We got 7 thumbs up tonight. We appreciate that very much. I hope you're enjoying this program. That means a lot to me. Physical encounters where someone's trying to take your weapon from you, it really, really if not, one of our Tasha, she's one of our guys, one of our ladies who trains here. She's done so much force on force training. Has done an awful lot, and they got guys trying to take guns from her, and she does everything she can. That's a whole nother training points about it. You gotta spend the time. Situational awareness, but that force on force training makes a big difference, Ben. You've done all that training. A lot of people haven't. But when someone comes to take that thing from you, it's your life or their life, and that's the one thing that most people aren't even prepared for until it happens. And that's the kind of oh, uh, learning to shoot a pistol is one thing. Learning to retain a weapon, force on force training, and things like that is a whole nother level of training that should be done on a regular basis. Uh, it's not done enough, and it most people, even myself, are not prepared for a physical altercation when someone's trying to take something from you. I mean, there is some, you know, monkey strength when things happen and it's that defying, but most of the time, deterrent or de-escalation or doing something else besides that, walking away, driving away, get away, evade, escape, engage. That threes are very important for most stuff. You got to make sure that you engage should always be last in your portfolio, not first in your portfolio. Thank you, Ben, for the comments. We appreciate that very much. Robert says Tennessee has that problem. Many people leave firearms in their vehicles and leave their vehicles unlocked. Just stupid. You can't fix stupid, Robert. That becomes the problem. If there was a penalization, I mean, it's like leaving your firearm on your front door. It's like leaving your fire. Listen, I went to Walmart one time and there was a firearm in the toilet sitting on the toilet paper roll. And I just went in right after him. And now I got the stupid thing. I'm thinking to myself, what do I do with it? So I go up to the service desk and I say, may I speak to the manager, please? And she's going, trying to block him like I'm trying to sell him something. So she said, well, can I help you? I go, no, I want to talk to the manager. She goes, can I help you? And I said, no, can I talk to the manager? She said, what do you need the manager for? I said, well, I found a firearm in your bathroom and I want to give it to the manager. Like just about that loud, Oh, she freaked out like it was like she wanted to call the cops and everything else like that. And I said, listen, all I want to do is hand this firearm to your manager and let him do what he wants to do. But at this point in time, I don't want it, and I'm not going to leave it in the bathroom. So what would you like me to do? And of course, the manager came and he took my name and all that stuff like that, and I gave it to him. Take my name all you want. Take my phone number all you want. I don't want it. I don't know anything about it. Found it in your bathroom. And I guess, I don't know whatever happened, but I assumed the guy. But you can imagine that. What if a kid went in that toilet? It was loaded. It was loaded. G2, Taurus G2, in a leather holster. Who knows? Who knows? I hope the cops took it, and I hope they had to go back to the, I hope it got reprimanded. That's all, but probably not. It's part of the stupidness. But thank you, Robert, for making that comment. Kurt Richards, he says, I wear a triple retention holster while on duty because it was required in New Jersey. And New Jersey's not an open carry state. You don't say, Kurt. You don't say, buddy. Yeah, New Jersey's a little tough for firearms. They don't like hollow points. They don't like a lot of stuff. They don't like high capacity magazines, But yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure that triple retention stuff, guys aren't. It's I've never actually tried to do it, but I think because the way the angle is on that, it'd be very hard for someone to take that unless they knew the retention button thing would know how to do it, especially from behind, because it's putting pressure down and over and most people are trying to pull up with it when they're trying to take it from somebody, so it would never come out of the holster like that. So yeah, those triple retention holsters are quick and fast when you know what you're doing. When you don't know what you're doing, they're not fast at all. They're very confusing. No problem, Chris. That's my job to do research on this stuff and try to help you as much as possible. I know what your factor is about open carry. Chris is one of our members here at the store, but sometimes it would feel real comfortable not have to worry a holster and whatever. I just don't see the. I can't come up with, besides comfort, I can't come up with one good reason to open carry. Even when I hunt and fish, I never open carry. I never open carry because I don't want anybody to know I have it. You're in the woods somewhere and some jackass sees you fishing and with a gun on you. It's like having a Mr. T starter kit on the wrong side of town. Just don't do it, guys. Just don't do it. And Robert Ham said, even with a firearm, we are just as vulnerable. 100%. 100%. The last guy who got bit by a shark didn't see the shark before it bit him. Now, there are jackasses who try to do stuff with sharks and get bit, but most of the time, when someone's the lion on the Serengeti Plains is not chasing the top bull. He's back behind, working on all the small, weak, and feeble. So he's hidden in the back and trying to hide, and that's what's going to happen with the bad guy. And Ben says, I think open carry, some of these guys, egotistical people on both sides, do stupid things. Think about me, mentally vulnerable, unstable people hanging around gas stations, approaching you. Yeah. I tell you, one of the scariest things ever happened to me was putting gas in the car, and I had didn't pull the firearm, but I lifted my shirt and kind of got a little, what it was, and I never forget as long as I live, because I was working for a company at the time, and I just got my concealed. I was carrying every day, but corporately we weren't allowed to carry, but tough shit, And the guy came up on a bicycle, and this was a gas station off 75, and not the greatest side of town, but it was a new gas station, and I was putting gas in my car and had my back turned, which was stupid, and all I heard was bicycle tires and sand. That's what it sounded like to me. And he rode his bicycle and kind of was coming towards me. And the moment I heard it, I kind of turned and went to lift my shirt to grab my weapon. And when I did, I was wearing I had a shield, Smith & Wesson shield, the original one, on the inside the waistband holster. And back then I had to tuck my shirt in. So I pulled my shirt out and I went to go grab it. And when he saw the weapon, he shot off like a bat out of hell. And I finished putting gas in the car. I had to go over in the corner there and sit for about 15 minutes. My heart was just blowing out of my chest. What an adrenaline dump it was. It was so crazy. Now, do I think he had a weapon and do I think he was trying to rob me? I don't know. I would press myself by going to the holster. This is just muscle memory wise, but I don't remember much more than that. And it kind of freaked me out for a little bit. But I was 20 minutes sitting in the corner there, just trying to get my brain around what happened. what happened, what just went on, and I just never forget the sand in the wheel thing. That's been my one and only time in my life, and it was not a fun feeling at all. And and I can imagine in a high adrenaline dump situation what it would be like. And we got to get to the muscle memory effect. If we get to that point, no matter what we're doing with a firearm, it makes it so much easier for us. But having the wrong holster, having the wrong gun, not training enough, not working enough, we put ourselves behind the eight ball already. We're already behind the eight ball. Because in real life form, you ask the FBI, they talk about you need to identify a threat, make a decision, and engage in 1.2 seconds. It can't be done. There's no possibility because we're already in a situation now. Take in the distance, shorter distance, and things like that going on, and us not being muscle memory effect or not training enough. It just puts us in a bad scenario. Yeah, we'll see you, bud.
Right, thank you.
Have a good night. And then it becomes so much more challenging for you. I'm gonna go lock the front door while this gentleman leaves. I'll be right back. Just unlock it.
No, it's not unlocked.
Yeah, I'll lock it. Thanks, bud. He's pretty safe. How you feel? Good?
Yeah, much better. It's healing up. A lot of the pain's going away.
Good. Good.
Good. Good. Good. I can get hell out of it. Good. I can get all the cows. Yeah, good. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Ben, for saying that again. Kurt Richards said, hey, they need to be harsher penalties for criminals who use the guns. Yeah, that's true. But what happens with that? They get places in the United States that let them out the front door and they go out the back door. So it's one of those deals where, if they're going to do warrantless stuff and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and the judges are letting them out with slaps on the hands. That guy that killed that young lady on the in the subway, would they have 20 arrests on him? 20 arrests, and the bastard's still outside walking around in public. It just doesn't make sense to me. We gotta with the rotation of that stuff. There should be harder. Florida's got the 3-strike rule, right? That you use a firearm. I think it's you use a firearm, it's 20, and it's something or another about if you kill somebody, it's life. They don't play around in Florida, but you still, who's leaving a gun in a car? And that's what it all starts with. Ben Vol had a guy in Baltimore cut me off leaving the parking lot. He pulled in front of me, got out of his car, and tried to block me in at a red light on a one-way. Right there. On a one-way. On a one-way street. He ran up and was swearing and saying how he was going to mess me up, etc. I had my hand inside my waistband on my Walter PDB, but decided to get off the X and ran the light and got out of there peeling out. Well, that's exactly what you should have done, Ben, because at the end of it, that would have been something else. What I always think, too, is what day is it? What's happening in that guy's life? That could have been the last. His wife could have gave him divorce papers that day or whatever it is, That's why I say it's better off just to say I'm sorry and walk away than it is get in there. Remember these 3 E's, guys, if you can for me. It's very important. Evade, escape, engage. Engage should always be last in your repertoire when it comes down to getting in a situation like that. Because even though we can even though we can, doesn't mean we should. And that kind of puts us. And when you go to court and you're going through all that stuff, in Florida and a lot of places, the prosecutor, his whole job, if they're going to charge you or not, is what they look at as a reasonable man. What a reasonable man would do. And if you're doing what a reasonable man would do, most likely charges will not be charged against you. But if they ask the jury if 6 of them would and 6 of them wouldn't, you got to be careful with that. And that's going to be something you need to really think about. So I hope I helped you make a decision tonight about open carrying versus concealed carry. My opinion on my own, I'm always going to conceal carry over open carry. I don't think I need the attention. I don't want the attention. I don't want anybody to know that I have a firearm on me. I want to keep my tactical advantage as much as possible. So I would recommend you do you, boo. Well, you want to open carry, make sure you understand the rules and regulations. Make sure you check out all those spaces you're not supposed to be. And remember that you are always your first line defense. And we give your tactical advantage away, you're no longer that. My name is John Johnson. I own and operate a firearms training facility in beautiful Cape Coral, which we have a website that has a lot of different stuff. We have online classes. We have the master class that's available for you guys. We have memberships here at the range. We're open 7 days a week. We have a lot of different ebooks and things like that could support you and make you a better shooter. If you'd like to support our company, and the best way you can is don't forget to hit the bell icon, the like, and the subscribe button on YouTube. If you're on Facebook or anywhere else, make sure you are following us and liking our stuff there as well. And if you want to get one of our ebooks and you haven't got one for free yet, you can pick any of our ebooks through our YouTube, through our website. That is firearmstrainingbyjohngjohnson.com, and look at shops, and there'll be all of our ebooks, what those books are about, grip and stance and trigger control and sight picture and sight alignment. They're about 50 to 60 pages long, and they take the science out of each one of those and make it simple for you to understand. The more you can understand what you're doing wrong, the more accurate you'll be with a firearm. Until next time, God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line defense. I love you very much. Thank you for being here, and thank you always for spending your time with me. Love you guys. Good night.